After the epic Assassin's Museum arc and a look into Slur's past with Akira, it's time to get to some training. Now, Sakamoto is training with the demon from the Order Torres. He didn't look too good versus Takamori, and now that Slur is stronger with Takamori added to him, he has a lot to level up to. Meanwhile, Shin and Hei are training with Sakamoto's old partner / sensei Kendaka. But like Sakamoto, they need some real training with some real opponents. It's kind of cool Sakamotodays has its own version of Impel Down with the JAA jail. Only strong assassins survive, and the frequency of death is so high that no one has even finished the sentence. I have a feeling this will come into play in the future somehow with other characters down the line. The jail ended up being a perfect scenery for the fights and for Heisuke and Shin as juveniles. Shin is trying to be more initiative in becoming stronger with his ESP, so he can be on a level like Sakamoto or a Slur, putting a lot on himself to do more and to become a more cold-blooded killer. His demeanor in a way shifts back to how Shin felt in chapter 1, before he joined Sakamoto. In the prison, they are trying to reach a fortune teller to help Shin master his ESP. They get interrupted quickly by two prisoners already trying to mess with him, like typical bullies trying to throw their weight around and comment on how soft Shin's cheeks are. Yeah, I'm sure that definitely had to be an innuendo. He freezes the guard in place and beats up both of them. Shin and Heisuke leave and are in the bathroom just regrouping. Then we get the return of Hard Boiled, who heard about someone wanting a fight but didn't expect to see Shin here. Hard Boiled respects Sakamoto for being hard boiled, so he doesn't want to start a beef with Shin. Except he didn't have a choice because my boy is going through a training arc right now, so he needs some help. In this quick initiation of the fight, you see what Kendaka was talking about. He froze Hardboiled for a second, but not strong enough physically to incapacitate or even heavily damage him, and just gets thrown through the wall. We get a look at the fortune teller, and she's waiting for her knight in shining armor to come and free her. The fight is immediately stopped though by a passive aggressive and power hungry guard of the prison who shoots Hardboiled for answering a question he had for him too slow. Shin knees him in the face, and like any typical prison guard, he tries to make a joke about his name, cuffs him by the neck, and slams him in the ground. He's got a handcuff connected to a chain, kind of like a chain and sickle. This dude Shackles used to be in the JAA Special Detachment Unit, at the top of this assassin is amazing rankings, and he was close to the order. So in short, he's the strongest one in this area at the moment. If he can't beat Hardboiled or Shackles, then going under would be impossible. We see the fortune teller again, and she's used as a foreshadowing device for what's to come and build some mystery. Not gonna lie, the fortune teller gimmick in stories can be hit or miss because it could be underwhelming, especially saying 3 people could die, and the next page are these 3 lined up. Obviously, neither of them are going to die except maybe Hardboiled at this time of the manga, who would have had the highest chance of dying. During the punishment they have to be given for fighting, they are in a freezer and Shackles is torturing them till frostbite or death. Heisuke is having hypothermia, and if he loses his fingers, he can't snipe. Boyle tells him to stop talking and get this shit done before it gets too late. Shackles still kicks him away, and Shin jumps to stop him but gets cuffed to the wall. Shin has to counter and does so using his environment around him. Some assistants are walking past, so he stops one and he falls, so he stops the other, and he stops the entire line of people, eventually bumping into some storage crates and knocking the crates over onto Shackles. Shin's problem seems to be that he has to be proactive with his ESP instead of reactive, and even though being able to freeze and stop an enemy is effective, it feels like he hasn't experimented enough with it, giving commands to people and more so trying to do something that's more specific to the moment or the fight. We get a little of him trying it in this fight. He uses some future sight to dodge some punches and gets an assist with a fish from Heisuke, but he's still at a disadvantage and gets thrown into the shells and gets beat on a little bit. They are in a freezer, so of course trying to go after the thermostat is the goal. My boy Hardboiled took a straight slash to the body, protecting the 2 young assassins because they showed that they are hard-boiled. Shin gets free from the handcuffs and gets some distance from Shackles and targets his ESP to the control room. So now we know his psychic wave can reach a certain distance. He controls the guard and has him smash the breaker. The power is out, darkness fills the room, and now Shin has the greatest advantage with his ESP. Reading his mind leads directly to giving away the opponent's position. While Shackles is panicking, Shin slumps him and he finishes the fight, and now they can go to B2. In B2, the design of the prison changes into a giant maze. I appreciate the level change in design because the prison as a scenery can get old real fast, especially if it was viewed in like an anime. Those gray colors can get old quick. The prisoners added a supermarket, sauna, movie theater, funeral home, and a hospital. How they built this is beyond me. I mean, I guess steel in the sand is all you need. We meet Tenkyu, another cool character I will add. He got jumped and robbed and lost everything, but he seems to not really care. They got attacked by a group of random prisoners, and one of them can manipulate the sand. Tenkyu deals with them by pulling out his bow and arrow and sniping him through the body, blowing up his torso, and the bow is strong enough to break a blade. I got a soft spot for cool sniper characters, so this was definitely cool. If only I get snipers this good in Marvel Rivals. Tenkyu is very much a sociopath. He's happy going and not bad an eye at what he's doing. He'll kill and do whatever for the sake of his friends. The friend he's looking for the most is Slur and the gang. He's on a mission to kill Sakamoto and his friends. Tenkyu was a part of Al-Kamar, the facility that turned our antagonistic group into killing machines with no emotion. Except they failed because they love each other and they protect each other. Tenkyu was a success. Killing is just a game to him. Tenkyu knows of Shin and Heisuke and their abilities, except he doesn't know what they look like. So now Shin and Heisuke are going to pretend to be strangers with basic fighting skills. I like this because Shin is facing someone that he's trying to be, or something he's trying to be, and his emotional reaction is confusion and fear. They get killed by some lasers, and after dodging a few, a fence wall laser comes at them, and he tells Tenkyu to shoot through the hole to the window, taking out the guy in the control room. It was a nice play by Shin, except he used his ESP, and Tenkyu was wondering how the hell did he knew there was a guy in there, and that there was an enemy around before they attacked during the sand fight. And he asked this in like the most Looney Tunes type of way possible, especially with the way the panel looks. He lies to him and tells him that he's a fortune teller. And like an idiot, Tenkyu believes him and he wants Shin's help of burying the hatchet with a friend. So Shin is going to manipulate him and try to get him to stop killing. Spoiler alert, that doesn't last long. Also, I'm very interested as to why, other than the fact that he wanted to kill Sakamoto and his wife and daughter. I wonder if there was another thing that Tenkyu did that really upset Slur. As they bullshit around with Tenkyu to keep the fortune charade going, he is revealing to him why he and his friends had a falling out. It's because they couldn't agree on killing Sakamoto's wife and daughter and using them as bait, and which leads to Shin punching him, giving him a bloody nose. Tenkyu's confused and Shin tries to fight him, but Heisuke stops him because they don't kill. It's the Sakamoto family rule. Tenkyu runs ahead and thinks he's messed up with another friend. Unfortunately for everyone involved, the Atari fortune teller and her guards break through the wall and arrive at the scene, and she warns them that this is a great misfortune that she was alluding to. One guard risks his life and tries to fight Tenkyu head on, who's still processing why they're attacking him, but he's not fighting back because of Shin's rule. So he's very naive even after he gets hit by Shin, and Shin literally mentions Sakamoto, and it still doesn't click for him that Shin is not who he thinks he is. Well, until Shin and Heisuke meet up with Tenkyu, and the guards also get close to a down Tenkyu, because after they ask who they are, Tenkyu calls Shin the fortune teller, except he's not, and it's the little girl Atari. So now that he's been exposed as a liar, Tenkyu then pierces this dude in half, and now he's back to being a killer machine. Amazing double spread, showing the speed of Tenkyu in his perspective. Heisuke tries to pull him back, but he pulls the bow with his toe, and Suzuki does a phenomenal job at being creative with this bow and arrow, putting it over his neck and pulling back the limbs of the bow, decapitates this guy and uses his tooth as the ammo. Heisuke tries to shoot him, but he redirects the bullet with the bowstring and clips him. I gotta say, there are many artists I would love to inhabit their mind and see what they see. Suzuki is one of them, because this is amazing. Atari intervenes and uses her fortune to help, and she's feeling lucky. She says some bullshit about the chance of life spawning onto Earth. She ends up grabbing some rubble and some garbage, shakes it up in a bag, and gets a pistol out of it. Her luck will only work with Shin as the lucky item, so she has to hold on to him, or unless everything just goes to hell. Such as a potted plant falling on her, gum stuck to her shoes, or Tenkyu hitting Shin with an arrow. Atari ends up being out of luck. Tenkyu wants a fortune to be read of him and Slur and how they can patch things up. She tells him that his alternate identity would never accept you. At this rate, she could be referring to more than one person, but she's all out of luck, and she uses the last of fortune that she has for one more thing. Tenkyu knows it ain't for him, it's definitely going to Shin, and strangles her by the throat. Until Shin makes a save, leaping at him with a piece of glass. He's going to fight Tenkyu one-on-one and is resigning from the Sakamoto store as he's an assassin and he wants to kill Tenkyu. The back and forth with Heisuke and Shin shows their emotional and yet innocence to them, because Shin is right, a guy like this should die. But Heisuke can't answer because of the Sakamoto rule, and he probably low-key thinks there's a possibility you can help with Tenkyu because he's emotionless. You know, you can always give somebody something to love and then everything changes. The floor gets smashed and Shin is taking everything in of what's happening. Tenkyu now feels like this is Shin showing true emotion and not lying to him. It's a dual perspective towards killing. What Shin is doing is justified while Tenkyu is just being himself, so to speak. It's a theme that's been around in stories for years upon years upon years, and this one is still a very good showcase of that. Both killers at the end of the day, and Shin agrees that they are the same. This is to me Shin just putting on a facade with himself so that way he can get into a certain mode. While on defense, Tenkyu is trying to figure out how to avoid being countered by ESP, so he's going to make arrows impossible to dodge. Shin is failing at overriding his thoughts, and after a brief thought of Nagamo saying his future sight is oddly convenient, it looks like he can't use future sight on the same person more than once. And Tenkyu launches himself at Shin, being the weapon himself. Tenkyu cuts the pipes so they fall and tries to corner Shin, but a high kick stops him, and now he's got his ESP working to win the hand-in-hand. Tenkyu smashes rocks at Shin, and he couldn't dodge them as easy, so it looks like random multi-hit attacks overwhelm ESP. His leg is cut up and he can't move physically quick enough, so he forces himself to jump with his mind-reading overwrite. He's got to evolve mid-fight and be resourceful at the same time. He gets some distance, but now he doesn't know where Tenkyu is. A sniper who has a good line of sight at a far enough distance, and his target doesn't know where it's coming from, lifts his eye patch, and his left eye is like a scope, but it makes him nauseous, so he can't use it too often. And Tenkyu then wraps the bowstring around the arrow, which will let it fly farther and faster, and it pierces straight through Shin's body, proclaiming that his arrows have far better range than Shin's ESP. This definitely reminded me a lot of Kinemaro from Naruto. Whenever he would do that in the spider form, the chase continues and Shin is moving, so he figures out he can use the overwrite an infinite amount of times on himself, which could be very effective from a defensive standpoint. And he punches Tenkyu and he loses a tool, but then uses that same tool as the arrow and snipes him in the head. In the closing clash, Tenkyu is aiming a point blank arrow to the head. Shin takes a risk and tries to overwrite to force his body to move at max power, and he gets a crazy speed boost. So fast everything is looking slow to him. He grabs the arrow and cuts Tenkyu's fingers off and cuts his left eye. While pinned down, he stops for a moment. Tenkyu is guessing he's hesitating and scared to kill. And Shin denies it and says that he feels nothing. And just before he tries to stab him, Sakamoto stops it, moves him out the way to get Tenkyu some medical help. And this conversation between Sakamoto and Shin really felt like a Batman and Robin moment. Tenkyu for what he's going to do is Sakamoto's wife and daughter should die, but Sakamoto doesn't want Shin to become a murderer and adapt that mentality because it can eventually get out of hand. Shin breaks down crying and says, "I'm not what you want others think I am. I'm not a good person." Sakamoto reassures him. He knows the type of person he is. And we get a flashback of how the two met. The Shin and Sakamoto flashback should be good, although I got a good idea as to how it's going to pan out after reading the first chapter of it. But I would really like a Tenkyu backstory with Slur and his gang and like how they were in Alkmaar. Like a full backstory with them and them meeting as kids and how they got out of it. I don't know if Suzuki would do that, but that would be really cool, especially to see like how they were as kids, you know, how they developed, especially having somebody like Tenkyu next to them who was different. But if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe. I'll let y'all in the next one. Peace.
Yeah, Kim Jong